I was 17 when the Berlin Wall fell. It was a symbolic moment for many around the world, but it was especially important for those of us in Germany. When the country was reunited in 1990, we suddenly had access to thousands of people who had grown up in the atheism of communist East Germany. I knew then that these were important moments because I saw the renewed evangelistic zeal in my father. My father was the senior pastor of a church that had been started in 1947 by refugees from all over the former German Empire. He saw when the wall fell that we had the opportunity to reach not only East Germany, but the other nations that had also been behind the Iron Curtain. A true answer to the prayers of untold numbers of Christians around the world. But on both sides of the wall, Germany had been changing. Even without the official atheism of East Germany, West Germany had become increasingly secular during this time. Today, several of the beautiful church buildings of historic Germany have closed or have been converted for other uses. It's troubling to see this happen. I hope to see the gospel restored in the land of the Reformation. That's why my family and I left Germany for 10 months. We are in Gaithersburg, Maryland, so that I can attend the Sovereign Grace Pastors College. My grandparents from both sides were all Christians. Grandfather Gustav Wegert, he always went to church on Sunday and he told my father about God and he prayed a lot for him. But my father, he didn't believe at the time, so he was a rebellious teenager. Later on, he heard the stories about his father that he refused to greet like Germans should do. They were required to greet the Hitler Gruß. And one day, I remember, I sat at the breakfast table together with my father, and he opened the newspaper. Then he looked at it, and there was the headline which said, just one didn't greet the Hitler Gruß. And there was a picture of many workers greeting the Hitler Gruß, but just one man stood there in this position and refused to do this. It was obvious that this is my grandfather. And this he did because of his faith, because he was a genuine believer, and he sensed and he felt that something is wrong with this Nazi politic. My father is a humble, a joyful, and a godly man. His goal is to honor God in his private life and in his ministry. There was a time when he was disappointed and he was in a point in his ministry where he thought to quit it. And then my mother came home with a book called The Forgotten Spurgeon, written by Ian Murray. One day, my father sat on the couch and he saw this book and he thought, well, let's see what kind of book it is. And he opened the book and he found the sentences marked by my mother. Suddenly, he began to understand, because the content was about the gospel of grace and it was about God's love. And it was like God would meet him in a new way.
After this experience with this little book, The Forgotten Spurgeon, I tried to talk with other pastors of my area about this subject. And nobody could understand my question. And then a man, he is called Ted Tripp. And this man came to Germany and he heard about me and he came to our church and he said to me, "You are a Pentecostal pastor? You are now a converted Calvinist?" I have a good idea. There is a young movement in America. It's called Sovereign Grace. And then I asked him, give me addresses, give me persons, give me telephone numbers, give me email addresses, give me. And so one day I got from Dave Harvey an answer, and he said, here I am. We are ready to come to Germany. And then Dave Harvey came, and Pete Grizzly came, and Mark Altrugy came, and Jeff Perswell. Since the last 2 years, we became friends together. And now we have found a new fellowship of brothers of the same faith. Als dann der Krieg vorbei war, besonders der Zweite Weltkrieg, dann gab es wieder neu ein Fragen nach Gott. Die Kirchen waren wieder überfüllt. Aber es dauerte nicht lange, dann suchte die Bevölkerung Deutschlands und nicht zuletzt auch die Bevölkerung unserer Heimatstadt Hamburg, sie suchten dann wieder andere Götter. Und insofern ist auch Hamburg eine ganz und gar liberale Stadt geworden, die das Evangelium verworfen hat. Deshalb sind auch ihre Kirchen leer. Und da die Menschen ja doch Hunger nach Wahrheit haben, kommen sie auch in unsere Gemeinde. Und wir freuen uns, dass die Arche-Gemeinde wächst durch die Gnade Gottes. Und wir geben dem Herrn Jesus allein die Ehre. Und in diesem Zusammenhang haben wir auch Christian Wegert, meinen Sohn, nach Amerika gesandt zu dem Pastors College von Sovereign Grace nach Gaithersburg. Und er ist nun so erfüllt, so reich gesegnet, dass er wieder nach Hause kommt und dass er mit einer unserer Pastoren wird. Und so Gott will, wird er sogar mein Nachfolger werden. Und wir alle als Pastoren gemeinsam wollen stark daran arbeiten, dass doch unser Land erneuert werden kann und eine neue Reformation auch entstehen kann.
Wolfgang's a uniquely gifted guy, and that will be obvious to anybody who met him for more than a minute. He's built a wonderful church. And he's also affected many other churches and leaders across the German-speaking world and into Eastern Europe. Christian is just one example of why the Pastors' College is so important. And so therefore, if we can train men to be preachers of the gospel, to be pastors of churches, to be planters of churches, be they from within Sovereign Grace or outside of Sovereign Grace, that doesn't matter. But what matters is men are being raised up to preach the gospel. And so I can't think of anything more important in Sovereign Grace than this. I'm sure there could be other things, but for me, I have a passion to see men raised up to preach the gospel, and the Pastors' College is doing that very thing.